Hello and welcome to Chess with Simon. I'm Simon. Well, lots of exciting things have happened on the chess front. Let's take a look at those exciting things. So, we're going to start gently. This is really interesting. I think what my opponent has done here is move ordered me. I think I've been move ordered because I think I would normally play something like the main line of the Queen's Indian. So I think normally this would go. Let's say we have a normal Queen's Indian on the board. So we're going to have to go to analysis board, aren't we? Let's say it sort of goes like this, and you go here, and then instead of this accelerated thing, you go this, and then you go Queen's Indian, and then black goes here. Then you go G3. Then black has a choice between bishop a6 and bishop b7. Here, discuss, blah blah. And these are positions I would sort of understand and expect. But what my opponent's done is accelerated. And now the knight's on c3, so it's different. And now we're in a Queen's Indian. So I think if you play g3, you get some unfamiliar positions. So I'm going to play a3 and go to a kind of Petrosian Queen's Indian, which, to be honest, I'm familiar with from the black side, but not the white side. But, you know, how hard can it be, right? So you're stopping bishop b4. Well, you're not stopping it, but you're making it a losing move. I mean, black can play it. But in Correspondence, we might have played it in 1 minute bullet. Unlikely in Correspondence. This one, I mean, you're absolutely virtually forced to take that knight, and I'm starting to dream of having some chances of swindling a draw here. For people who are not watching every single video, basically what happened was beautiful theoretical opening, slightly aggressive f5 there from Mark, slightly aggressive I would say. I got going on the queen's side, which was great. I kind of controlled d5, which is great, going on the queen's side. Look, here I think I'm just a lot better. This was quite scary because this attack on h2 is actually quite worrying, but the knight defends it, and then this is a fork. But here, I think, well, I mean, I've not looked at it on the computer, but my guess would be if we take that with probably any of the three that can take it, the king or the pieces, I think white's better, stroke close to winning. But it just struck me that what would be really great would be to move the queen here and create a bunch of complications, which basically just don't work out. So he takes, and then rook a1 is a disaster. I mean, you're virtually getting mated. You can play h4, and then this happened, and so I'm taking the knight, but I mean, I dream of getting a draw. And that's all I can say, really. Let's see if dreams come true. Horde. Horde's a bit of a feature of these broadcasts, and this person, Horde coach, challenged me, which is really cool because someone else I'm playing is good at Horde, and he challenged me, and I kind of love that whole community aspect of this whole thing. So basically what's going on here is I'm actually pretty happy with white. I mean, I think black generally wins in the starting position, but this pawn is hanging. Don't really want to play to defend it, so I've kind of got to take here. And then if black takes there, take again, and if black takes back, I mean, I guess then I do play the b pawn, right? But I mean, I can't, you know, it's so hard when you've only got pawns. They're so slow, and, you know, do I exchange this? I don't think it really matters. This standoff here, does it matter? I can't work out if it matters. I had an idea in this position, and it sounded pretty good when I thought of it earlier on. What is it, you might ask? I certainly want to know what it is. I can't think of it. Okay, this position. Now, again, I talk quite a lot about bullet on this thing. You know, in a bullet game, you play that, don't you? But here's the news. Even in this game, I want to play that, because I actually think it's a good move. Because what do you think black will do? I mean, suppose black could do this. So these are the options for black. That's a good move. Knight f6 is a less good move, isn't it? Knight f8 is a good move. So knight f8 is a good move, which is probably the best move. Yeah, knight f8 is a sensible move. Does that then mean my queen's misplaced? Not particularly, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Slightly making it up as I go along, but... I mean, you can't take here, unfortunately, because when they take the queen, you take the rook, they then take another piece. Oh, but then you can take here. Look at that! Woo! If only. That's going to be a happy day. So the thing is, maybe you can take the rook here. Because this is actually now quite dangerous. Oh, but maybe they take the bishop. You know, this is chess for you. It's a really complicated game. Okay, I don't think that's all going to... I don't think... Well, what all that amounts to is Queen e4 a good move? What would you play instead? All sorts of things you might play instead. I mean, you know, you might take here. And then when white takes back with the rook, you might play here, attacking the pawn. And then when white does that, you might play here, dropping into here, and you might think that's rather nice. And then what you might do is you might swap this off first. I don't know, this way. And then that might make this hit rather more effective, and you might play here, and you might play the queen there. And after takes, you might think, wow, checkmate. So actually, maybe we take that knight. And of course, there's no bishop takes because the queen's hanging. Should we take the knight? I actually really want to do that now. And then I think that king side looks quite abandoned, doesn't it? All of a sudden, the king side looks really quite vulnerable. I don't think there's a sacrifice on 8-7, but it's not even that's not impossible. I mean, in other words, I don't think this is correct. But you know, well, how does? Oh, yeah, it's not correct. It's not correct. But you know, but that's fine because we don't need to sacrifice. We just want... So I'm not going to play Queen e4. I think we're going to... I've changed my mind, you know, in real time. We're going to take like this. Okay. Yeah. Hoard, hoard, hoard. Oh, this was the hoard one I deferred. I can't rush this, can I? I'm feeling like rushed. Well, shall I take here just to cope with the time pressure? Or maybe take here to cope with the time pressure. There's all sorts of moves you can take that make that a sort of... Yeah, come on. Or do we? I don't know. Oh, it's really difficult. I think hoard's really... Okay, this one I've got an idea, and it's a bit naughty of me and lazy of me actually, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to sacrifice the exchange. I'm going to sacrifice the exchange, which is going to allow me to check here. I think black's got to take. I'm going to take here, which then leaves me with a better set of pawns. I mean, 3 passed pawns and a little amusing phalanx. The scary move is this. Then I'm checking here. King's somewhere. Up here. Everything's defended. White's winning that rook and pawn endgame. It's lazy of me because you shouldn't really sack an exchange. Like, surely there's a better way. Like, just double. What if you just double? I mean, what if you do just double? So let's just look into that, because... Well, isn't there this king e8? I keep getting antagonized with this sort of move. And I know I should be more patient than this. You know, Magnus Carlsen is the king of patience, but I'm not. I'm just going to take... Is this bad example to everyone? Like, sack for... What? I mean, really? Well, it is a technically winning endgame. I mean, maybe one of the really great skills is to be able to swap to a technically winning endgame, and so you got to take this really. And then how are you going to stop those pawns? Like, those pawns are just going through, right? Okay, fine. Fine. Okay, horde. I'm getting so sick of horde. Okay. Keith. I've really enjoyed this game. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to get a pawn with check. It's not always correct to take a pawn with check, but on this occasion I think it is. And then I think I'm going to try and get the queens off, play the end game. Oh, not this. Okay, here. Oh, I've got an idea here. I think this unleashes all sorts of interesting ideas. I'm trying to break up the centre and the queen's side. Before black can get an attack going on the king's side. It's a race, right? King's Indian, it's always a race. I've made a few mistakes on this. Historically, I made an inaccuracy in the opening. So because I was in a bullet chess haze, I forgot that instead of playing b5, I should have been playing c5 here, which is a good move because what it does is c5 is a good move here because it defends that pawn. And then the obvious thing is that they push, and then when they push, you take with the pawn. Then this is awesome because it threatens knight here, which is really a good square for the knight. And also, if the queen takes, then you got a fork. So that was a really nice thing, but I just panicked and played b5 instead. Right, never panic. And now we've got to a position where I think I was worse, and black was kind of pushing me around. And but now bishop c3 was slightly preparing this move. So let's see what black makes of it. I'm going to make a move here just to make this go away. Well, it can't be that wrong to take, can it? I don't know. My brain's like exploding. It's just quite difficult, isn't it? No, I don't know. It's agony. Okay, this one I do know. So here's the situation. You take here. I think this and white wins because white's hoovering up those pawns like there's no tomorrow. So black's got to be brave and take with the king. And then the rook defends this rank. And the big problem is check. King moves to defend the rook. Swaps. King here. King here. King here. King here. And white's better in this end game, pawn end game, but I don't think black is... Well, I don't know if black's lost, actually. But black's not lost on my time horizon. On my horizon, I can visualize. But black's clearly worse because the pawn structure's worse. So we've got to take with the king, otherwise we lose. We might still lose. And again, this is with a misplayed opening. Not terribly, but I got the theory inaccurate. This is Nigel very sensibly putting his rook on this file, although I had a look at this today and I'm claiming that queen here wins material. Because stacking that pawn. And it's attacking the rook. Sorry, it's attacking the knight, it's attacking the pawn. Pawn's attacked 3 times, knight's attacked once. So let's say the knight goes here to try to shake things up. And I think you can take here with the queen. I don't know, I mean... Maybe I've missed something, but queen here looks like a good move. What's the risk? I don't think there's much of a risk here. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna play it. Frankly, I'm not sure it's right, but chess is about decisions, right? And today's decision is queen here. I don't think it provokes an immediate fiasco for black. And that's something. That's something. I think my horde career is quickly coming to an end. Okay, this one. This is a really good move by Gary. Putting the rook on the open file, what's not to like? I don't know what to do here, frankly. It's hard, there's no real targets for me. Should we play this in an attempt to weaken the pawn structure? That's alright, isn't it? So we're hoping for bishop here. We win a bishop. We're hoping for pawn here is more realistic. And then look at that square for the knight. Oh, I mean that's almost a strategically won position, I would say. Isn't that nice? So in which case, this actually asks some questions of black, actually. Because the push doesn't work either, does it? Because it loses the pawn. So this actually asks some questions of black. Because I wouldn't. You know, you can't play e5. You can't play bishop e5. You can't play d5. What are you going to play? Isn't that weird? It surprised me. I wasn't playing for that. I suppose you put the rook behind it, but that's not really in the spirit. I mean, it's fine. It's probably the best move. But it's change of plan. But, you know, plans change, right? Chess is a complicated. I think I would put the rook behind it. You can't put the rook there, obviously. Okay, here we take the knight. Should we look at an example variation here? Well, the current situation can't be tolerated because there's a kind of discovery on the queen. So if it was black to move, knight g3 is pretty embarrassing for white. Okay, so it's actually in the database. Bishop takes, queen b2. And queen d7, bishop c3, of course, targeting the g7 pawn at f6. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, white might have a slight positional advantage. The black king might be a little bit windy, but there's no prospect of an attack on that king's, not immediately, so a draw with Justin would make me enormously happy. Do we play knight ge2 in this position? Everybody plays knight ge2 in this position. The whole point is that the bishop's busy defending the e-pawn, which often becomes weak in these lines. And also we're irritating black by copying the fianchetto, but just having a bit more space. You know, it's not a maximalist strategy. It's just sort of a anything you can do, I can do with a bit more space strategy. I'm playing against a machine. Alright, well that'll need some thought. h3, you play h3 to support bishop e3 to stop the knight coming here. I mean, h3 is there. Come on, let's indulge Ian. Let's play h3. He'll probably have played it up to about move 76. Yeah. Alright. Very good. a4, I didn't really know a4 to stop b5, I assume. I would have just gone castle or something. You know, that's why we're learning, right, from correspondence. I would have just give you castle, and what do? They play b5, and they've got some play. Whereas if you play a4, I think actually when I played Nigel in this line, I did play things like a4. I even played a5, I think. It was black's meant to play a5 to stop that, but I think I got a real clump on the queen's side, you know. a6, I think a6 was played, I think I played a5, and I got a really nice... I think I got a dark square bishop on b6, I think. Nigel, tell me if I'm wrong, if you're watching. Thanks, Ian, for the sort of program stuff. It's cool. It's really fun. Here's Ian again. You've got a castle here, really. I mean, the idea that you're going to go long here is ridiculous. Of course we're castling short, and of course white will castle long, and it'll be a sharp game, and I'll get mated. No, it'll be a sharp game, but black's solid and principled, and black's done nothing wrong. You know, and it's quite hard for white to breach that pawn structure, which is kind of the best pawn structure, if you're going to face a pawn storm. So the dragon pawn structure is much more dangerous, because then h4, h5, and immediately you've got a hook and you can open the h file, whereas with the pawns here it's a lot of work to breach that. So we travel, yeah, we travel in hope. I'm not going to stall this forever. I'm going to move. I'm going to play this. And to be honest with you, I don't even know why I'm doing that. Sometimes you just got to make a move. Is that everybody? Oh, it isn't quite everybody, although there's been some great games in there. Because there's a new challenge from Gareth which I'm going to accept. And the reason this has happened is because the game against Gareth, unfortunately, Gareth overstepped the time control, which is annoying because he's a fantastic chess player. There are 2 videos on Chess with Simon dedicated to his work, and I will link them in the description. And when the game finished, I looked at it on the computer, and essentially what it said was a beautiful, balanced and complex position. So what it really said was, here, this is book, theory, 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 theory. So that's theory. Okay. This was the computer move. Takes. Actually, c4 was a computer move there. Go figure. Well, it's not silly. Oh, I see. So the computer wants to play c4, bishop moves, and then take on d5. That's actually really cool. It's actually really clever. That's good, isn't it? Or play knight d3. Wow. And then take on d5 at the end. Just wow. So let's look at this computer line, because it's always good, isn't it, to look at what the computer's up to. So here, and then it's either you take on d5 or you play knight takes. So there's quite a lot of, we're stacking quite a lot of material. Well, something like this. So we sacked a pawn, but we've got the 2 bishops and we're really active. And actually, well, yeah, isn't that interesting? Isn't that, we took here, knight here, and then I think we navigated look, queen d6 was the engine move. I think we navigated the complications reasonably well. AF8 was the engine move. You can't always make the engine move. I mean, one shouldn't really hold that as the standard, because also one should express oneself. G5 here. Well, yeah, I get it, but I don't get it. I think recycling that bishop was wise. Rook gets hit. Rook moves. Rook. What you should have played here was rook takes f4. No idea. I mean, so rook takes f4. Bishop takes. Bishop takes. I mean, you can see why. Well, you can see why, because the king side ripped open and you've sacked. Basically, white, the engine thinks that black's winning this. Wouldn't it have been lovely to have found that? Wouldn't it have been lovely? Anyway, it was an interesting game, Gareth, as far as it went. And you know, it's not really fair, this time control thing, because you're such a good chess player. You're much better than that. But we are where we are. So it looks like there's 3 that I've got to move here. But of the 3 I've got to move, I think 2 of them are games where Ian's programmed it in until the end game, and so however many moves I make, it's always going to be more, which, by the way, I think is wonderful, and it's lovely for us because we get a bit of live jeopardy. I'm feeling optimistic tonight. I think I've calmed the bullet chess down, which has I've not stopped it completely, but it's really helped me. You know, I think one of the skills in correspondence chess is just being consistent and just turning up. I used to play in a correspondence league, and what was so fascinating is that everyone loses over Christmas because people are enjoying themselves and relaxing and getting drunk, and and so what happens is you make like 35 correct moves, and then it comes to Christmas, you make 1 wrong move and you lose. And so consistency, just literally turning up, is important, not just in correspondence chess, but in other aspects of life. I've got no idea what to do here. Can't work it out. I'll have to do it at my own time. Don't know here. I'm just going to flick through these. This is different because I'm not going to move on every day on these. I think I'm getting a grip here. So I think my idea is to put a rook here, a pawn here, another rook here. But maybe I'll loosen the pawns by doing this first and just playing a bit. Maybe I'll just be a bit provocative and try to loosen the structure first before putting the rook here, and the pawn there. I don't know if these guys ever watch. Maybe I'll post in. I think I'll post into everyone's browser that this goes on, because it's fair, isn't it? Just to let people know. Rook here leaves us a pawn up. Worth some thought. Here we're a pawn up. Probably got to play c3, right? To stop this. I think just c3 and then consolidate the extra pawn. We've got the open file. We've probably got a slight positional advantage. Here the doubling the rooks is so tempting, but again I might play rook here just to see if I can provoke a weakening. Does that make me a bad person? Just makes me a chess player, doesn't it? Just makes me a chess player. And since we're here to play chess, that's a good thing. This is winning, although not by force. What about knight here? What about check here? What about knight here? I don't know, I can't get the exact right move there. Oh, I can't look at that at the moment. Or that. It's late. It's basically 10 to 2. I've got to... This, I think, black's fine. We're back to the beginning. And so, I've decided, well, what I like to do is finish the show with a puzzle. It's 10 to 2 in the morning. What's the answer? What do we think? So there's only one check, which loses the bishop. This hits the rook. What about bishop here? Is that nasty? It looks quite nasty. I haven't got a clue. I've not got a clue. This pawn's not far from queening, isn't it? Is there a mate, do you think? What about king here? Oh, that looks nasty, doesn't it? King here, rook check. King here. I think king here, the threat is check. And then I think we're mating. Yeah, I think that's quite nasty. Now rook here, so we don't want to put the bishop in the way. That feels like a non-move. But king here, I think, aren't all the threats alive? They are, aren't they? Oh, that's a whole rook. Now we've got to be careful here. Take the rook, pawn push, bishop here stops the pawn. So we don't just snatch the rook, because if that pawn were promoting, that would make me sad. Thank you so much, Tactics Trainer, for giving me a fun one and for basically making my life easy. Thank you everyone for watching, and see you all next time. Enjoy your chess.